So lately there have been a lot of AI image and video generators popping up like some surreal game of AI whack-a-mole. And to switch metaphors, it is kind of my job to collect and test them all. So today I've got two new interesting ones that might appeal to you with some unique ideas. Plus, both of them do offer free credit, so you can try them out and see if you connect with them. Okay, let's dive in. So yeah, there are a lot of new image and video platforms popping up. This is mostly due to the fact that Black Forest Labs' Flux model is open source and all of the leading video models have opened up their APIs, so you can use them cross-platform. This does kind of level out the playing field, so in my opinion, it really comes down to what these platforms are offering in terms of additional features or workflows that are really going to make them stand out. The first one we're going to check out is from BasedLabs, and if you're going with that name, you are clearly aiming to pop off no cap. What? I have kids, I keep up with the lingo. So Based is aiming to be kind of an all-in-one platform. They're not being shy about it, obviously. I mean, it's right there in the landing page. There are a number of different apps up here. These are your various kind of easy mode plugins, I guess, everything from face swapping down here to, wow, the old school illusion diffusion, if you remember that one. They do offer model training here as well, which we looked at in the last video on Korea. Same principle applies here. You basically upload 10 to 25 images of yourself, hit the start button, and that will train a model of you that, or whatever you choose to model in any Flux generation. That said, what we'll focus on here today is the actual models that are available on BasedLabs, because yes, they do have Flux, Stable Diffusion 3.5, and Recraft, which Red Panda, which we looked at, what, 2 videos ago? They also offer a few LoRAs here, or low-ranking adapters, stylization passes essentially over your images. Clearly, they do need to update their thumbnails, but you can see we have like glamour photography, Midjourney style, boring reality, which nails boring reality, vintage photo, and so on. Finally, in terms of video models, you have Luma, Runway, and Kling available here. No Minimax yet. I presume it will be coming at some point. Now, where I think things get interesting is when you start obviously generating on BasedLabs. You begin by choosing your model, and obviously they have, you know, Flux, Stable Diffusion 3.5, and Recraft. But they also, if you go down a little bit, they have some older legacy ones, like some old like SD 1.5 and SDXL 1.0 models, which to me, some of those were actually really good. Since we went over this just recently, I'm not going to dwell on this too long, but I did train up a model over here. So choosing Flux Dev and the training of just me, of course, we're going to give it the old man in a blue business suit walking down a busy city street. And indeed, we get sort of a happy version of me. Very rarely, as we have seen, do I get smiling outputs of me. Apparently, AI me is always cranky. So one thing to keep an eye on with BasedLabs, and I'm still going back and forth on whether I like this or I don't like this, is the fact that once you actually do have an image that you like, you actually have to come down and hit open an editor in order to save that image. If you just hit generate image, this image is essentially lost to time. Now, I do like it in that it makes you a little more intentional in terms of saving to your gallery. I mean, if I go over to my Midjourney gallery and just kind of start scrolling through, I mean, it's a lot. And while I'll say that Midjourney's search is very good, I mean, to be completely honest, I would say like a good 75% of these images will never see the light of day. So there is something about the act of, you know, hitting the save button that does make, you know, this particular output a little more, I guess, unique and special. So from here, you have your various options of magic brushing it. You can use it as an image reference, image to video. Let's give the image to video a shot real quick. From here, we have a number of options. Oh, look, Minimax is here, so we actually can use Minimax. Let's give that a shot, sure. So we'll just call this a man in a blue business suit walking down the street, smooth cinematic motion. We'll hit make video, see what happens. And sure enough, after a few moments, we have happy me kind of muttering to myself, walking down a city street. I'm still not completely sold on the overall consistency of trained faces in image to video, but you know, it looks pretty good for what it is. But where I think BasedLabs really shines is the fact that, you know, you have all of the models from Flux to Recraft to SD 3.5. So you can use this to quickly discriminate which model handles which prompt best. For example, this is a prompt that they provided. Ancient mecha temple in overgrown jungle ruins, robot monk statues with glowing cores, bioluminescent vines weave through the titanium bones, morning mist, golden our lighting, hyper-realistic detail. So running this in Recraft v3, we end up with this image, which looks pretty cool. It did miss out on the bioluminescent vines. Let's see if the other models pick up on that. Flux Pro 1.1 gives us this, very cool, very imaginative. Did miss out on the bioluminescent vines. I guess I don't think any of them are going to get it, but yeah, pretty cool looking. And Stable Diffusion 3.5 gives us this, which again, I think is pretty great. It's really unfortunate that 3.5 didn't really catch right from the jump. I do think that it's a really great image generator. So I do hope that, you know, we find some time to explore it a little more in the future. And of course, yes, once again, you can use your trained models along with LoRAs. There's a little prompt library here with some examples for Flux Dev. I'm going to use this kind of like dark necromancer one. Use my model, my face, and we're going to add in a custom LoRA. Let's try dark comic and see what happens here. And sure enough, we end up with two images. One that was kind of a dud in all honesty, but the other, I mean, it's a little on the camp side. I definitely look like a Vegas magician. I'm sorry, illusionist, but it is holding up in that style. It relatively looks like me. I'm definitely back to being cranky, likely because I'm wearing a satin shirt in that weather. Now, one thing that BaseLabs has that I know that a lot of you guys have been asking for is if you do happen to open this in the editor, we can actually upscale this image without changing anything. No creative upscaling here at all. It just makes things bigger. So that's, I know, again, something that you guys have been asking for a while. So now we can definitely count the chest hairs on AI Necromancer me. So you can run a few generations over on BaseLabs for free just to try it out and see if you like it. After that, there's a $25 per month plan and a $49 per month plan, but I do like the fact that they do have carryover credits. So that's something that I hope that more platforms adopt. Sliding over to another new platform that I've had my eye on. This is Flora, which is in alpha right now. They are definitely aiming for something different. I think that this is moving more into, I guess, kind of the experimental and exploratory side of AI image and video generation. There is a lot to unpack here, and I am going to say off the bat, it is a canvas, and I know that has been divisive for a lot of you. But I do feel that Flora kind of earns it. And while, you know, looking at this, it may look a little bit on the overwhelming side at first, I think that once you dig in, you'll see it's actually not as complex as it might look, and really opens up the door to a lot of experimentation and exploration. So I'm just going to walk through this using their world builder example. This is just one of the many different workflows that you can try out here. Beginning with a text to image here, you can either choose to generate it in Flux or Stable Diffusion 3. We'll stick with Flux. This is the air is thick with the scent of damp concrete, kind of a, you know, underground bunker city silo kind of vibe to it. So let's regenerate this and just get a different image. Okay, it really didn't change it much, but then again, I didn't change the prompt, so, you know, I don't know what I was expecting. From there, you can drag in one of the text-to-text modules here, as they did here, and prompt it with create a choose-your-own-adventure game set in an underground bunker city, set the scene, and provide 3 options for what to do next in the story. Now, here's where things get kind of interesting, because obviously it, you know, will generate up 3 different paths for the story. And then you can actually just create nodes here that go into different areas. For example, down here, we have another text-to-text box, which just says, write detailed descriptions of who you think the main character is. And then coming off of that original text-to-text, we create another node that is also text-to-text, which basically says, you know, choose option 3, which was head to the marketplace where traders barter goods and secrets, and then continue the story and then provide 3 more options. So, you know, essentially the model then gives kind of a dungeon master, I guess, explanation of heading to the market, 3 new options as well. It outputted, you decide to trade in some of your meager supplies for a mysterious map, loading that over to a text image. We got an image of the map. Meanwhile, branching off of this, I took it over to another text-to-text with the choose option 1 and ended up with essentially a different path. Down here, we've started generating up some ideas on who our main character is, who our villain in the story is, and maybe who a secondary lead might be. From there, you can actually take it out and do a bunch of variations on these characters to see which one you like best. Let's just randomly take this guy, for example. and some more variations on Lila is, I guess, what the character ended up being named. From here, we can choose to upscale our image. And interestingly enough, we have Topaz in which you can upscale with, or you can try the Flora model as well. In this case, I ended up using the Flora model. And then obviously from here, we can add in an image to video model as well. There we have options for Dream Machine, Gen 3, Kling, and Minimax. So because we looked at Minimax earlier, let's just fire it off with Kling. I'm going to leave it promptless, see how it looks. While we're waiting for that to generate, you can also do images to video, in which, you know, you can take a number of still images and run that. I just ran this without a prompt, and you kind of get that you know, lightly animated kind of like morph look to it. So that's something that you can experiment with as well. Well, Kling is taking forever, but in the meantime, I think that you can see how quickly you can kind of, you know, sketch and build up an interesting world here. But that's actually not all that's in Flora, because there's a lot of other interesting use cases that you can use Flora for. For example, you know, product shots like Demon Nectar here, which is something that I think that Necromancer Tim probably wants to drink. Or they've even got the real-time camera thing going on with latent consistency models. This was, I mean, it's still a little janky, but it was always kind of fun to play around with. I am looking forward to like the next big iteration or breakthrough with this, because yeah, this was always fun. Now, where you would use that in a Flora workflow, well, that I don't know. That's, you know, something for you to come up with. And that's what I think is kind of interesting about this platform, is that it is a bit of a sandbox to sort of play around with things. So speaking of the exploratory aspects, I did end up taking, you know, our girl, Daniela Van Den Onk, dressed as a pirate. I was playing around with image variations, but I did end up with sort of this character. And the image variations thing is pretty interesting, because you sort of have these two sliders here of like abstract and ethereal. You can randomize and change that out too, to anything from, well, I saw Hieronymus Bosch in there, impressionist, abstract. Sure, why not? Let's generate that. And what's interesting is you end up with this 3x3 grid where you can see impressionist down here definitely leans a lot heavier. And then sort of like this middle ground between impressionist and abstract. And then up here, we just have straight up impressionist. So overall, yeah, I would say that this is a very exploratory platform, and that is actually pretty exciting. So Flora offers, interestingly, a timed free tier. So it looks like it's about 15 minutes. The counter is running low for me right now. So, you know, definitely take what you learned here to play with it. And then ultimately, it runs at $16 a month to get started, and does come with a 3-day trial. So you can definitely sign up and give it a shot. I think that this is definitely one of the more interesting platforms that I have run across. Again, I know not all of you are a fan of canvases, but hey, give it a shot for 15 minutes, see if it wins you over. I'll be keeping an eye out for more interesting platforms as they pop up. I'm sure they will. In the meantime, I thank you for watching. My name is Tim.